So to team, welcome day three of FPUK's 12 Days of Christmas. And tonight the theme is Ask the Admins, which I'll explain a bit more about that in a second. It's important to acknowledge our sponsor because it's a pretty big sponsor this time. So Diamine are offering a £100 ink prize voucher for a lucky winner tonight, who will be drawn at random at about 9 PM tonight. Now, I'm going to say a word about Diamine because I have to say I think that we need to we under-recognise Diamine. They're the UK's oldest ink producer. They're actually one of the world's oldest ink producers. They've been around since 1864, and they've been producing ink continuously in Liverpool since 1925. They have one of the largest ranges of ink in the world. They currently have over 250 colours in production, and that's a combination of their own ranges and the special edition ranges they produce for other shops and organisations. And of course, they are behind the legendary, ink event calendars that about probably half the group have at the moment. This year's one. So I think it's also important to recognise that Diamine are a big supporter of the group. So they probably over the last few years have probably given away thousands of pounds of ink to members of the group. And we work with Phil very closely, and he's kind of really quite a good friend of FPUK and of plenty of other organisations and companies that do fountain pens. So just we're obviously hugely grateful to Diamine because they're an amazing ambassador for what we are all into, and we are going to be working with them again next year. So that's kind of my word on the sponsor, and obviously we're extremely grateful to them for everything they do, and also for the fantastic £100 ink prize tonight as well. So that's Diamine. There you go. So what's tonight about? So the idea of tonight is I will open the floor to you guys very soon, and we're going to start off by looking a little bit back at what we think we've done over the last 12 months. Then we're going to have a little bit of an intro from all of the admins and a few just sort of opening questions. And then we will open the floor to you. So when we open the floor to you, please, there are no banned questions. But I thought, just in case you haven't come armed with lists of questions like Ros has in front of her, which by the way, we have not sent her anything. She's not a stooge. Those are her own questions.
It's not a plant.
But I thought I'd put this up just to trigger some thoughts. So what are we curious about as admins in FPUK? What do we want to know from you? And so these are some thoughts that we had in the admin chat earlier on today. So what does the community of FPUK want from us? And what does it want from FPUK as a platform? What's working really well within the Facebook group and beyond that we should try and protect? How would you like to see your community grow and adapt in the future? And I say your community because I hope that you see this as a community rather than as a Facebook page. To that end, have we got the culture right? What should we do differently? What can we change? I'm sorry if you hear the dog in the background. She's a little bit overexcited tonight. What's the purpose of Fountain Pens UK? What does it mean to you? And what do you need us to know? What do you want us to know and to understand about how you use the group and what it means to you? And conversely, what do we as admins need to know about you to deliver the best sort of, the best experience for you, the best community for you? So those are just some thoughts just to try and hopefully sow a few seeds in your mind as we go forward. But that's just a starting point. You can ask anything as trivial or as serious as you want to, but that kind of, I thought might just set a little bit of a kind of a baseline for some ideas that you might want to think about. Okay. So just in the last year then, if we go back 12 months, we ran last year this similar series of events called 14 Days of Inkmas. We had to scale back a little bit on the number of events this year, but we've, I think, got a more interesting program perhaps in some ways. In January this year, we've been having some monthly socials on a sort of an ad hoc basis in 21, but we actually made the monthly Zoom a regular monthly thing from January. So that was quite a big thing for us, and that means that we're actually for the first time throwing some money at having the Zoom account, and we're all putting in some time one evening a month to try and make sure we have that running. In February, obviously with the sad events in Ukraine, there was a huge outpouring of amazing artwork and fundraising and fountain pens for Ukraine, so some special designs and things that we were kind of fairly actively involved in, and that was a really powerful month. In March, we did our second social table at the London Pen Show, which I think went down pretty well with lots of merchandise and freebies. And Rob Delaporte from Made for Ink really, really sort of helping us get some amazing logo designs and some merchandise out. And I can only say also sorry about all the people I gave COVID to. That was probably my fault. So, even in the first 3 months of the year, we'd already been quite active. Then in April, Fiona led an absolutely amazing round of pens for schools. And I think, I mean, Fiona will have to flesh out the details, but my goodness me, we raised an awful lot of fountain pens and paper and ink for schools. That was really outstanding. We also did the Anoto Scholar group buy, which I think saw nearly 80 pens purchased by the group at a special discounted rate that we'd negotiated. We had a slightly fallow summer. I think we had quite a busy start to the year, and then we had a slightly quiet period over the summer. From your perspective as members of the community, we did refresh the rules a bit, and we'll be doing a bit more on that later next year. And actually, what was really going on between May and July was all related for us to the FPUK 22, finalising the design process, monitoring the manufacturing and getting the package contents organised. And then July and August, certainly from my perspective, was all about getting 200 pens out to people and trying to make sure they weren't too badly disappointed by the outcome, really. Then October, we had kind of, I mean, I'm just going to sort of throw out a few other things that have been going on. Inktober, we've had Flowvember. November, we've had Not Another FPUK Ink, which is our collaboration with Pure Pens, which is still available if you go to Pure Pens website. And obviously throughout the year, then you have these ongoing things like the fountain pen challenge with the prompts that Perva is led on, but is very well supported by the group generally. And I think a lot of people really appreciate those prompts and use them as an inspiration for writing and drawing. So, I mean, I think we've had quite a busy year. I hope people feel we offer quite a lot to our community, and we certainly hope to carry on with some of these sorts of ideas next year, and we're sort of starting to flesh out some plans for what will happen next year. So I thought that would become just a useful starting point to kind of hopefully draw to mind some ideas about what we've done already, and really now I'd say the floor is over to you. I will leave this screen up for a couple of minutes, but I'm going to first of all start by just introducing myself, and then I'll go around the other admins. So for those of you that don't know me already, my name is Jim Blackburn. Generally I'm referred to as a he or a him for pronouns. I've been an admin on the group for about 2.5 years now. It feels like a lot longer. My day job, I'm a consultant anaesthetist. I also work on my local air ambulance, where I frequently take pens to work and confuse everybody by photographing them in various odd places around the helicopter and around Devon. Pen-wise, like lots of people, my collection is constantly evolving. I am increasingly interested by oblique and broad nibs. That's either where I've been going recently, and as a result, I'm getting very interested in shady and sheeny inks. That's kind of my fountain pen background. Def or Rob or one of the admins, do you want to jump in and do the next introduction and just pass it over?
I'll go next.
Cool.
The baby's sleeping, so I'll take this opportunity to chat for a bit. So I'm Perva Robertson. I joined the group about nearly 3 years ago, in 2019, I think, or maybe a little bit earlier. But that was when maybe I had 1 or 2 pens, and since then, like Jim, my pen collection has evolved. I've learned so much about pens, and just really enjoyed being part of this group. The fountain pen challenge was one of the things that I wanted to do, because maybe some of you can relate to this, but I kept buying a new ink, a green ink, because I like green inks. And then I was like, what do I do with this? Like, I like journaling, but then it wasn't a habit for me at that time. So the fountain pen challenge started, and it was back in the day that I actually spoke to Noah about it and chatted about the fountain pen challenge and started doing it. Since then, over the years, I've had loads of help, loads of friendly faces have introduced to me, and I've started doing it. Pen wise, so I was thinking about what my favorite pen would be, let's say, and I can never choose one, but I actually did manage to choose one, because currently I think my pen collection is kind of stabilizing. I'm quite happy with where my pens are. Obviously cannot resist ink and cannot resist paper, but I think my pen and nibs are stabilizing. I picked one, so this is it's a pen company on Etsy. I'll put a link on the chat if you like, but it's 1818111.com. It's a Japanese pen company, and they do urushi work, I believe, on these pens. This has clover design on it, and the nib actually is what is my favorite. I actually bought the pen without the nib, but the nib on it is a flex nib. So I have a thing for flex nibs, and this is Kirk Spears Flex Commander nib. So it's a gold nib that he tunes and modifies into some amazing writing. So again, I've used this for the fountain pen challenge. So if you want to look at some older photos, you'll find it. I think it was the one I used in November, but I can put a little photo in. But yeah, that's me. I'll pass back on to someone else who wants to take over.
I'll go next. I'm Rob Delaporte. I run Personalised Stationery and Made for Ink. I'm more of a paper guy. That's how I came to the group, was through sort of an obsession with paper and using paper. And I've ended up being here for, I don't know, a long time. I've been in the group for a long time. I don't know, one of the others will correct me, but I think I may be the longest standing
You are.
admin now. Yeah, I think I am. My favorite pen, I think probably my Namasu Nova with the tie, the Bock tie nib, the Titan broad nib. That's such a nice pen to write with, although it's a broad, so I tend to write quite large, a lot bigger than I would with like my brass pocket pen or something with a fine nib. I just find, because it puts so much ink down, you get a really nice color, and it's a pen I always end up going back to at some point. So that's probably my favorite pen. And I go, like Jim, my pronouns are he, him.
I'm happy to go. Oh, sorry.
You
go first, Steph.
Okay, so I'm Steph. My pronouns are she, her, and I joined Fountain Pens UK in 2016. So I've been around a while. I got back into I used fountain pen at school. I got back into fountain pens around that time because I started using a traveler's notebook on a regular basis and still do. I haven't got a favorite. I got a very beautiful pen for my 50th, which is the pen I will never part with. I tend to be quite fickle with my pens, but I use them every day. I work in construction, and all my note taking is done using fountain pens. I do have a favorite ink, which is Robert Oster Bondi Blue, and I bought that about 10 minutes into my journey, and it's still my favorite. And then I have quite an extensive collection, and we don't.
So you stopped there then with the inks, right, Steph?
Absolutely.
You got that ink, and you were like, "That's it, nailed it, one and done, sorted."
It's ridiculous.
Sorry,
it was about the fourth ink I bought.
I had to interrupt. I'm sorry, Steph. I'll shut up now.
My name's Stephanie, and I have an ink problem. Hayes.
Hi everyone, I'm Hayes Piers. I use either he, him, or they, them pronouns, whichever's simplest in the moment. I'm non-binary, and I run incredible pens. I also run a crochet design business, Hazeltree Crafts, and I'm a school librarian, which is taking up all of my time at the moment, so I've done nothing with my businesses for a few months. When it comes to pens, I like variety, so I do have some favorite pens in that I've got I couldn't pick one, so I was going through my pen case and I grabbed 4.
Mm-hmm.
I really like lots of different things in pens. I think probably my favorite 3, if I put one down, are things like the Sailor Shalana, which is tiny, tiddly tiny. This is the tiniest nib. It's a size 1. I like my 180 because it's got a weird pointy nib, and it's got the best flow out of nearly any pen I've ever written with. And that's a it's the platinum. I've forgotten the numbers because I can't remember numbers very well.
3776.
That's the one. I had to look at the pen. It's the 3776, and I do have a favorite ink. It's Mont Blanc Pierced Sky. It's beautiful. I got a sample of it from Edwin, and I fell in love with it, and I used it up, and I was getting very sad about this because I couldn't find it anywhere, and then he sent me an entire bottle in the post. So I feel very loved. I've been in the community since January 2020. January 2021. So January last year. It's been nearly 2 years now. And I really, really love it here. And just the way the community interacts with one another. I feel incredibly loved by this space. When I joined at the point where I was feeling very isolated socially, and this gave me back a social life. I spend all my time enabling my friends.
I'll go.
Who's next?
Hopefully, my internet's being a bit dicey, so hopefully people can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yep.
Excellent. I'm Isha. My pronouns are she, her. And I think I joined the group at some point in 2021. I don't remember when. It's been a blur since.
October-ish.
Yeah, something like that. Hayes dragged me kicking and screaming into the group, essentially. And I've been a admin since, I think, May or June this year. And that's been very lovely and very rewarding to, give back to this lovely community. Favorite pen? I very foolishly didn't go through my pen case before I sat down. And so my favorite pen is either I have this dinky, like pinky finger sized chatelaine pen that I picked up at the pen show, and it is just the most adorable little thing ever. Or it's a lovely Pilot Maki-E pen with like autumn leaves and sakura blossoms on it, and I love it dearly. But the only pen I do have with me is this rainbow monstrosity. I don't know if you can see it. It's the rainbow Hongjian that is just eyesore levels of bright. And favorite ink, I'd say probably Robert Oster City Shearwater. Just a nice, sweet teal. Hayes showed the pen there.
I'm Fiona. Bear with me with any background noise. I am being told about things that aren't working. I use she, her pronouns. I joined FPUK, I think, 4 years ago. But back in 2018. And I came into fountain pens through dip pens and the pretty inks that you could use with dip pens, and then I realised that it wasn't actually that limited to look at fountain pen inks, and I get slightly less inky fingers-ish, but not really. But in theory, that would be
occasionally in theory.
Yes. I have the smallest pen and ink collection in the admin team. Unlike some people, I can part with bottles and I can part with pens, and do so gladly. When I do not get on with it, it goes. And I quite like this fact because I can still see my desk and all the mess that's on it. My favourite pen is probably my Pelican M200. It gets a lot of use, especially as I now own almost all of the nibs for it. And my favourite ink is probably Diamine Autumn Oak. I love the fact that it shades and it's an orange, but it's very much a legible orange, and that works well for me. So yeah, that's me in summary, and I'm going to mute before things get even louder in the background.
Who else have we got on? Jim's gone. Jim's gone and muted.
Jim's gone to
Jim's sorting dog issues out.
And I think May can't speak tonight.
May said she can't talk.
Yeah, and I don't think Ed has managed to make it on.
Ed's not here yet, is he? He said he could join, but it might be a bit late, but that's probably child related, I would imagine.
He can do his little talky talk when he gets in.
Yeah.
So does anybody have a question for us?
So yeah, let's throw it out. Well, we know Roz has got questions.
I just wondered if it might help for Jim to put his slide up again, because there were some things on there that might prompt people.
Yeah, as soon as he comes back, I think his dog is misbehaving.
Oh dear.
On sleep.
I've got one personal question. So what do you sort of going back over 2022? What is the Adminks personal highlights?
Ooh.
Well, I've only been an admin for the last half of the year, so I'd probably say the 22, and just the fact that everyone was so lovely and happy and supportive about, you know, postal delays, that, you know, all of the little postal delays that took things out of our hands, but the community was so lovely and supportive and appreciative of what we were all doing. That was my highlight.
I really loved the new Admink selection process. That was something I think we forgot on our timeline, but it was something that was really fun. Like it was really fun and interesting to see everybody's applications. We had a like blind kind of voting system that we organized within ourselves, and we came out with pretty much unanimous on our 3 selections, which was lovely.
It was really weird, wasn't it? That was so strange.
It was bizarre with that.
Yeah.
We all had the same top 3 in maybe a slightly different order, pretty much. I think there was I think a 4th, but we had more on one. It was really, really good, and really showed our like unity as an existing team, and how easily we were able to expand to include 3 new adminks, and then we're all just continuing to get on like a house on fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if it's an admin thing. Well, it is. Going to the show in March, and there was a few of the admins who managed to make it there, and we met so many members. And as Jim said, Rob put together some great kits for us, etc. And that was brilliant. That was probably one of my highlights this year, definitely.
I think for me, seeing the response to the Pens for Schools, I think that was really good to see that the buy-in from everybody was wicked. In most cases, the literal buy-in, so that was just wicked. And the effort that Fiona went to get that over the line was just astonishing. So that would probably be my one.
Before you were even an admin as well, which is the thing that really stood out to me.
It struggled a bit. But yeah, I must admit, for all that it was a pain in the neck, one of my highlights was finally, for those of you who don't know, we gave heading on for, was it? I'll double check the figures, but
it was a big number.
It was about 512 pens. And I dip tested all of them. So my highlight was when that last blooming pen was dip tested. My low is the fact that the 12 that are too broken to be fixed are still in my drawer, and I've not sent them back yet. Because I was done after that. Absolutely done. I have never written so many letters in one colour in my life, because I just dip tested every pen with a pretty insipid blue ink that I knew would behave itself. And all my correspondents got letters with one ink colour all the way through for a month and a bit. And, you know, my husband's saying that my correspondents probably thought I had a stroke because it was such a huge change in behaviour. But yes, that being done was probably my biggest highlight, because I was so proud of the fact that I knew that every pen that we were sending out worked. And that made me very happy.
I think Jim can probably relate to that. Jim, so Andrew's question was, what's your personal highlight for the year?
Yeah, I mean, I've had this on in the background while sorting out the dog, who is still being a bit weird tonight, which is really, anyway. What's my highlight? Do you know, I was thinking about this as I was listening to you guys talk. This group's at its best when it works for like vulnerable and people going through difficult times. And so for me, my joint highlights are probably seeing the Pens for School was amazing. But actually the one that really affected me the most was Ukraine. Was seeing the fundraising for Ukraine, the artwork that came out for Ukraine, feeling inspired to do some artwork for myself. And I'm not an artistic person. I'm very much not an artistic person, but feeling moved to do that. And I think so. Actually, for me, the Ukraine thing probably be my absolute highlight. Yeah, that's probably the big one for me. But there are so many, there are so many genuinely lovely moments, and it's incredibly rewarding to be part of this little community, isn't it?
Melanie,
It really is, yeah.
sorry, Melanie's just asked in the chat about feedback from it, and this might show you the state of my desk that these are still to hand. This is my favourite set of feedback. These were all made by the pupils in one of the primary schools, and they sent them.
Oh, that's lovely.
And did they send them or did I pick them up? I picked them up while I was on holiday, and it was so lovely to see that come back as feedback. A few messages over Facebook, but not, we didn't do a, follow up of we need to get feedback. So some people I didn't hear anything back from, but the feedback we did get was just so lovely to get and so encouraging. And some of those bits will obviously be saved for how we do things this year, which I think is going to be a little bit different, but the details of that are going to be thought about later rather than yet.
Great question. Someone said, should I share the screen? If I share the screen, we'll lose sight of the speakers. So it's up to you guys. I can share the thing if it's helpful. That one, I think, is what
I think anyone speaking will pop up in the sidebar.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
you'll still
cool.
see them in the corner. Yeah, still see them in the corner.
Oh, great. So okay, fine, cool. I better put my clothes back on.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Do your family and friends think you are weird?
Yes.
Yeah.
But not massively. Yes. I've enabled my dad, but my mum thinks I'm really, really weird.
There are enough reasons to be weird without it being about fountain pens. So I'm not sure that's the deciding
factor.
That
is also true.
That is very true. I am a goth who doesn't like maths in a household of normies who are mathematicians.
For me, I've heard my fountain pen thing being described as an extension of my external geek, which I think says enough. Yeah,
seems accurate. Well, I say, I say to my kids, I got a video call tonight. Oh, is that the pen nerds? Yeah, it is. Yeah. So
they're lighter than mine. You're called the pen crazies in this house.
My daughter worries about. My daughter worries about me. She's like, Mum, you shouldn't meet people that you've met on the internet. Mum, you need to tell me where you're going.
There's a point when I was moving house that all my friends were basically in the fountain pen community, and I didn't have any real life friends at that point that I could see or go to. So that's how it happened.
Just today, literally this morning, a couple of my other online friends, we started talking about pens because they said, oh, I've just found my glass dip pen. And I went, are you fountain pen people? And they just turned around and they just went, oh my God, we're all fountain pen people. I immediately invited them to the group. And so they're just getting involved today. They're in the States, so they're at work right now and they can't be on the call. But it's the first time my response from people when I say, oh, I'm a fountain pen nerd, has been anything other than, oh, right.
Oh, that's cool.
That's better than I get. I get laughter.
You get laughter?
Yeah.
I think people are a bit too scared of me to laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'm not very intimidating.
People at work think I'm a weirdo, without a question of a doubt. They're like, do you want to use a proper pen?
52 helped get me hired at work.
True.
Jim was my reference, so.
it's true. Yeah, gosh.
It only cost her 2% salary for the rest of her life.
I still can't believe they employed you, Hayes. I mean, I said some awful things on that. On that. No, I didn't really. It's fine.
You did. That screenshot you sent me was horrendous, Jim. That's just.
I think all you've done is guarantee to them that I can absolutely intimidate a room of 200 teenage boys. Which I can quiet the entire room with a single shush. It's become a thing of legend around the school.
But it is a private school, so to be fair, they're quite well behaved.
They set off a stink bomb in the corridors last week.
Oh, nice.
So do your friends think you're weird, Roz?
The only one who doesn't is my sister-in-law, who's an ex-teacher.
Right.
My brother definitely does. My nieces and nephews think I'm a bit weird. I mean, they can hardly write, but I mean, the handwriting is appalling.
Yeah.
But I think I'll be penabling my great nieces at the first opportunity, as soon as they're old enough to hold a pen.
Christening present.
Yeah, well, I gave them an antique sort of wooden box for their present with a handwritten in fountain pen book of Roz's Guide to Life.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You know, on like what to do if you ran with your parents and
Oh, that's really sweet.
things like that. So I made their
Very,
parents
very
read
sweet.
it, so their parents can sort of say, right, go and just have a look at the book. Sort of
That's
hints and tips like that, or what I've learned.
That's very lovely.
Of
That's
course,
really
one of
cool
the
as well.
mothers couldn't read it because she can't do cursive.
Can't read. Oh, that makes me really
Oh.
sad, because I mean, certainly I know that Isha and I, we had like handwriting things. We both learnt to read handwriting and cursive. That was a whole part of the curriculum when we were at school. I feel like there's a dropped generation, both before and after us, that didn't have to learn it.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I
my
never
other
had to
niece
learn
had
it
to
at
read
school,
it.
but I just learned how to read it in life.
Mm.
Well, everything was cursive in my day.
Everything
It
still
wasn't
is
copper
cursive.
plate. I'm not
I know
quite
that.
that old.
So the question I've got is, why do people think it's weird? I've always found that kind of, you know, what is it about just wanting to write and use ink and, you know, there's something
Discomfort with
fundamentally
joy.
artistic about it.
Well, Linda says she's a university lecturer, so her students actually think she's very cool, and many of her many students who are arty use fountain pens, so that's good. And Cheryl says that she most are okay, but she gets laughed at when she says things like that she could put any colour ink in this silver pen.
Hey Isha, I just saw Thomas. You need to tell him to use proper notebooks.
Yes, that is another legendary thing, is my housemate, rather than using any of the hundreds of notebooks and pens that I have in the house, insists on using bits of like scrap paper and envelopes from the recycling bin.
Yeah, Thomas.
Yeah, before I'd gone to the shop, but I hadn't left yet.
I couldn't hear that.
He was going to the shop, but he hadn't left yet, so he has now.
Good.
Some other comments from the chat. We've got Tom saying, Tom Thompson, any analog hobby seems a bit odd. Vinyl records, film photography, etc. It's all the same. Melanie Carr says weird.
Is this the time for me to crack out the handheld tape recorder and my Polaroid?
Yeah.
It sounds like it might be, yeah.
Because
Melanie says weird, not stereotypical according to accepted social norms. Sadly, I'd rather be thought of as weird than normal. Yuck.
Oh,
Yeah,
and me.
I agree with that. My inner geek is the thing that sets me out from people, and I'm very proud of it.
Agreed.
I totally agree.
I've always been a geek, but apparently I've hidden it quite well because people still seem to be surprised.
I'm treated with a certain kind of reverence with my family, but only when birthday cards and Christmas cards have to be written. And then I just have them shoved in my face, being like, Isha, you have pretty handwriting, do it nicely.
Right? That happens to me every time.
Yeah.
Hey, you write the
dismissive now,
cards.
Same here. That's the thing in this house.
It's everyone.
There's a question from Helen in the chat as well. As an admin group, do you ever have big disagreements? I think it's an interesting question. I'll start off. I think we do have disagreements. I think it makes it interesting when we do have disagreements, because then we can share everybody's opinions and have a viewpoint. But eventually, when we
just leave this on, because it might win something if you're on. That's all.
Oh.
Sarah, I think you're unmuted.
But in terms of just general discussions, they are just discussions. I don't think we ever had a massive disagreement. We might disagree on someone's opinion, but thankfully we do deal with them as adults.
One of the
we have a
reasons there is an
general.
odd number of us.
Yeah.
So that there is always a way of breaking it. But I think most of the time we're at least on a similar page. We do disagree on, but not on the big things.
No,
I would say.
I think we have a good habit of inviting challenge.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we've always had a ground rule about, do you like healthy challenge is healthy, and it's okay to disagree as long as it's cordial and civil and thoughtful.
Yeah, I never feel like I don't think I have controversial opinions, but I have been the person on a few occasions to be like, hey, no.
Yeah.
And I never feel bad about being that person. And equally, I don't feel bad when other people have turned around to me and they're like, I don't think that's a good idea about stuff, because we're very much, it's a dialogue until we make the decision. And I really like that about the team.
If you go back through the admin chat, you'll find over and over again this phrase, it's not a hill I'm prepared to die on. It gets said over and over again, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think this, but I'm not that bothered.
Yeah. I think mostly people will be. I think our biggest strength as a team, as an admin team, is that we are prepared to defend the consensus. Even if the consensus fell away from where I started personally, absolutely. I'm quite happy to go out to bat for that publicly, as though it was my opinion from the get-go, because I trust everybody else's decision making, and I trust the opinion that is the way to go. And I think we're all in that book. We're all in that boat. We're all the same. That even if the decision that's made is not where we started personally, we'll still defend it, because we accept that it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. So, we draw the line as a group, and we have 9 of us for any tie breaks that we need. And then there have been situations where it's been a 5-4. I think just one.
Definitely, yeah.
And
we have had that.
The 4 who lost that, not that it's losing, the 4 who were on the side that we didn't go with, all just, the line was in the sand, and they continued with their adminning, and it's just we're all really adults about it. And I've dealt with a lot of adminning in groups where people really were not adults about things. It's very refreshing.
I think that reflects what you were saying earlier, Hayes, about the development of the team and the selection process that we've been through, and the situation where we've ended up now is that I think we're really lucky, actually, and I hope that the group benefits from the fact that we're in a situation where we actually broadly all agree on the direction that we should be going and the tone that we should be adopting. And that's a massive strength, that we're all, when we do disagree, it's nuance. It's not, I disagree that is a black picture, that is a white picture. It's not that, it's never that extreme. It's always nuance. I don't think we should put it quite like that, or quite like this, or whatever.
I think it's also important that these, like, if you start off with a different viewpoint, people are speaking in a way, or our chat is speaking in a way that you're actually reasoning with us as well. So if I disagree, and I'm usually the late one, I come in and it's like, really do you want to do it this way? And then everyone else will usually tell me, okay, this is what we've done, this is why we've done it, and then I understand, okay, this is probably the right thing to do, I will step back now. But you all wait usually for me to just come in, chime in, and then move on, so which is quite important.
I think of a pervert as like the mother of the group. Like, the kids are all squabbling, and the mother comes in and goes, all of you be quiet, this is what we're doing.
I don't care who started it, I'll finish it.
God, that sounds familiar.
What a great
We've got
question.
some more questions in the chat. Gina said, does anyone have a nickname for their pen, or an old faithful?
I haven't got a nickname for any of my pens.
No, I don't have a nickname for it.
Is here
No
for us.
nicknames. No nicknames.
I call my 180 Stabby, but that's because it's pointy.
That's because it's stabby.
Yeah,
It looks like a sword.
The pen is mightier than the sword because my pen is a sword.
This is my old faithful. There's my camera.
Oh, I can't see people if I'm sharing
Just
screen.
a nice little Parker IM, and I bought it when I got accepted onto my master's course, and I didn't want to wait to buy a fancy pen. I just went to the local Smiths on the high street, and I was like, I'm gonna get the nicest pen that is currently in stock, and I bought it, and that's Old Faithful.
I think the closest to a nickname I have is what I call the Parker School pen, because I don't know the model, and although I've been told it once, I don't remember the model. So it is just the Parker School pen because I can remember that. My pens aren't really named.
I have an unbranded demonstrator that I got from AliExpress for £1.50 a couple of years ago, and I call it my autumn pen. I just remembered it because I was looking in my pen case, because I always ink it with Autumn Oak by Diamine. That's literally it. It's a lovely like piston filler. I always ink it up. It always looks beautiful. I use it in the autumn a lot, so it's my autumn pen.
I have one Moonman pen before the rebrand, and for a very long time I would refer to it as the Rocket Man pen, but sung exactly as the song, because I kept getting it mixed up with the Elton John song, so it's the Rocket Man pen.
Do we ever get a chance to meet up, or is it all online?
Not as often as we'd like.
Yeah.
No.
Yep, that was going to be my answer. I would
My
love
big
to
discovery.
sometimes.
My big discovery recently was that my in-laws live in North Manchester, and I worked out the other day that Steph and I, when I'm up in North Manchester visiting my in-laws, I'm 30 minutes from where Steph lives, and I've never realised in over 2 years. And like, to the extent I was actually going to text you the other weekend when I was up there and be like, "Oh, do you want to go for a walk at a really lovely nature reserve that's halfway? What's it called? I have to look it up again now. Thingy Bridge. What's it called?"
I think we've met up individually in some cases, or at the pen show. Fiona and I are quite lucky. We live quite close, so we've met up a couple of times. In terms of a group meeting, I think we need to organise one.
Yeah, we've talked about it. We talked about it before, didn't we? And we've not done it.
We should get that organised.
2023.
Yeah, Isha and I are old school friends. We met when we were. I was in year 9. Isha was in year 8. And so we used to live very, very close. Like we were about 20 minutes away from each other. Isha's now in Cambridge, so we don't get to see each other as often as we'd like. But we're going in December, so we're doing that.
Meets up in tiny groups, but never all of the admins. I think the closest we got was the pen show in March,
where there were 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4, I think.
This is a healthy reminder to bring that topic up, though.
Approver, Isha, Hayes, 5.
And me.
Wasn't it?
Jim was there.
Which of us is planning to go to the show in March?
I'm going to go to the show in March because it'll probably be my last one for a while. Because obviously with a baby in tow, that's going to be more difficult. So.
I'm hoping to go so long as it's not going to be too massively impactful on my health for work. It'll depend on how I am at the time, but fingers crossed.
I'm hoping to go.
I literally booked a hotel when the last one was on because I had massive FOMO. And I got an email the other day to say that the hotel's closing and that actually they've cancelled my room. So I need to rebook and things.
Nightmare.
There you go.
Actually, one thing we were talking about, now this is absolutely not a definitive plan, so no one get excited. But we were chatting in the admin group a few weeks back about potentially actually booking a table properly for the pen show rather than just in the social area. And Rob can join in as Made for Ink. We can do FPUK and kind of just use it as sort of a more formalised way of being there.
I can clean up and bring along a selection of cheaper vintage pens as well, just to have some little things that people can pick up at the table if we're doing that. Not a solid plan, just ideas floating about there.
There's a lot of ideas floated around in the admin chat. Some serious like this one, some less serious.
Am I a grasshopper secretly inside?
we do have an ink chat, which is just for chatting, and then we have an admin group, and then we've got a group for 12 days, and then we've got a group for 2023. So we have to try and keep, because otherwise we do chat a lot, actually, don't we?
Yeah,
and,
we
and,
do.
Pretty much most
and
days.
it would get lost, so we have to try and keep it together like that. So
Yeah, we had to
a load
split
of
it
stuff.
out, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, we have a load of stuff. We have several different chats. Like we've got chats for about 3 different projects, and then we've got like a spreadsheet with like ideas and organizational stuff on it. And we had a Trello for a while, and we actually have a Reddit channel that we just don't use at our fountain pens, our FPUK.
That's a good point. I'm the main admin on there. I think a couple of the other team are also admins on there at the moment. We'll get everyone on there at some point when they have Reddits. But if anybody would like to go and join r/Fountain Pens UK on Reddit, if your Reddit uses on a regular basis, feel free to join. Post your lovely things in there. It is the official one that's associated with the group, so it's all the same homogenous set of admins. It's the stuff you know and love. It's the community you know and love. Feel free to go and do that there. We also have the YouTube that's coming up, which is just mainly these videos, and then maybe a couple of other things, videos of the pen show across the year, that sort of thing.
We have some other ideas for don't we? Yeah. Nick Worley, how have you forged links to shops and organisations? That's one for Steph, surely.
Yeah.
Steph, how do you do it?
Well, that's the answer.
So magical.
Lots of phoning and emailing. To be fair, we are one of the busiest groups in the UK, so pretty much everybody is aware of us to some degree, and it's not just the people who are involved in the hobby that are great people. It's the shops and the people who sell the things. Generally, they're as passionate as we are. So we are really, really lucky. I mean, if you look at the sponsors that we've got for the prizes that we're giving away for these events, and we've got lots of interesting things that, and we're getting to the point now that people are coming to us and going, actually, could we do this with the group, and can this work? So
yeah, I think we're kind of you've maneuvered us into quite a lucky position, really, Steph, through talking to these people regularly and pointing out to them how effective the group is for what they do.
Basically, well done everyone for being great at buying stuff.
I was going to say we have the buying power, right?
Yeah,
and I think
absolutely.
Sorry, you go.
But Steph is the one that's you know, putting that out there, and suddenly these people are cottoning on to the fact that we are the target market, and this is the place to be. So I mean, that's you know, that's really good. We're really lucky to be in that situation.
We should reference Friends of FPUK here. I think this is a good time to talk about that.
Yeah,
that's a good
we set up, we kind of had a brief discussion about it, and it was actually, I think, a very quick decision, because we all went, oh yeah, that's genius. We set up Friends of FPUK, so businesses that have been consistently giving back to the group, discount codes, special offers, limited editions for us. They get a specialist status as a friend of FPUK, and I think it's that they can post any new offers that come in for the group specifically whenever they want, not just on Mondays.
We're really conscious that we don't want the group to turn into a place where people are just advertising, because that's no fun. But equally, there are, so as an example, Art from the Heart, they gave us their link to their Black Friday deals before they gave it to anyone else. So we got to go shopping and buy at those discounted price before anybody else did. And we felt by keeping things just to Mondays, we were preventing things like that. So there's only a small group of them, of companies that can do it, and they have to hashtag Friends of Fountain Pens UK. But that means that you should see more deals, more, and it's not just deals, it's when there's new things coming to the market, we should hear about them before anybody else does, effectively. Certainly the UK market anyway.
It really gives a huge...
Sorry, but that said, we've got a couple of really big Gold Spot have sponsored us this year, and Glen Leather have sponsored us this year as well, with really substantial prizes. So they want a little bit of us too.
It's really growing in leaps and bounds, our connections with people like this in different organizations. As we've already said, sponsoring this particular session is Diamine and Diamine. And there are it's just, pardon?
Potato.
Yes, quite. They're all coming to the group, and they're going, oh, we've got basically a captive market of people who have money to spend, who enjoy the hobby, who come together as a community to do these things. And we're being really lavished. It's wonderful.
I think, though, it is really important to be clear that the succinct answer to the question of how we have forged links with shops and organisations is Steph.
Yes.
Yes.
That is the answer to the question. That is how it has happened. And I think everybody needs to recognise that is how it has happened.
So we're Steph, the best scrounger and arm twister of the group.
Number one scrounge.
Well done.
And the most persistent.
I think now I'm conscious that Melanie's got her hand up, but that this question I think ties into the one from Tom Thompson. Actually says, is there a way to have the ability to donate to funding the group, whether through donations, raffle, etc., or do you get enough funding from sponsors to run things such as a Zoom membership? So the reason I want to think this ties in is because the sponsors tend to donate prizes or discount codes. We don't receive financial sponsorship. So the Zoom account, for example, is actually my and my wife's personal account. We just pay for it professionally, and so we let people use it. And so up to this point in FPUK's history, it's always been sort of free at the point of delivery, to use an often abused statement. And I think it's probably going to always stay that way. My personal view is anything that led to a sort of a payment model would be deeply, deeply undesirable for the community and for the group generally, and would set a really bad precedent.
Agreed.
But I think but it does raise the interesting thought experiment in my head, at least, of do we in the future lean on some of our bigger sponsors and say, well, actually, could you give us 50 quid for a Zoom account, or 100 quid spent on shared merchandise or something,
Or you ask donations from the group for those that can afford it.
I would feel bad asking for donations. I think there might be a utility in providing a group PayPal or something of that nature for people who have decided they really want to financially support us, and just putting it quietly in the files section somewhere so people can go and find it if they really want to. But I would feel the group is a free space, and I would not want anything that we're doing as an admin team to be putting pressure on people to put money in our pockets. That's not what we're here for. We do this as a labour of love.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I've noticed is that the outpouring of generosity people have shown for the auction particularly has sort of been a way for people to give back, which I've just thought has been absolutely lovely. Like, I also wouldn't want to solicit donations. There's a lot that we're able to do without doing that. But
the idea isn't to make a profit on it either, but one of the things that we're floating around is like the badges that we did at last year's show. Jim actually paid for those out of his own pocket. So we're looking at perhaps doing merch, because I think people would quite like merch. And Rob's really, really good at coming up with designs and things. And I think it'd be really cool. And as I say, we're not looking at making profit from that. However, I think it's something that we might look at next year as one of the things as well.
Yeah, that's definitely been bandied around, hasn't it?
I still have about just about a dozen badges or so that I've kept back as kind of like never quite got around to sending them out. So you never know. If you're really lucky, I might be able to do something with those next year. You never know. Yeah, I think merch is a really interesting idea, isn't it? I think if people want to donate to the group, then make Jim rich at paypal.com is my... sorry, I mean
you've done the ultimate merch with the FP22.
Yeah,
it's pretty good. It was pretty good.
The group pens are definitely the area where I think, in terms of money coming in, that's where they've been. That's sort of the most, I think, is the best thing we can do, is where we're providing effectively people are paying in advance for a product that they will receive. Periodically, something happens where our manufacturer gives us a discount, and then we have a small, like, a little bit of extra cash that goes into places. But normally, it's very direct. The amount of money that we are asking for is the amount of money that we would be cost, plus a tiny little mistakes margin.
That it has cost us. Yeah, absolutely.
I think a Patreon account is a really good suggestion though from George. I think a Patreon works like a small business, so we'll look into that. I've set up a Patreon account for a couple of friends before, so I'll look into that.
It doesn't put pressure on anyone to donate.
Yeah,
they can go and add.
I mean, we're all in one way or another got a lot going on in our lives as well, so it's having the time to add that value and the commitment of something like Patreon. So but it's definitely worth looking at.
I think
that's definitely the thing that I'm most cautious about is the moment that people start paying for FPUK, even if it's on a purely voluntary basis, there will be a sense of what do I get for my donation, or what's, and I know that that's not, it won't feel as mercenary as that in the moment, but that's the danger to my mind, is it then starts to feel like we have to deliver stuff. And at the moment, we all have the opportunity to just go, I'm too busy, I'm walking away for a few months, which has happened to all of us at different points in our adminship.
Which is why we have that little lull actually in the middle of the year where we all, I became a granny in June. We all had different things going on, and because of that, we had that little lull where we weren't actively, we were obviously still managing the group, but we weren't actively doing anything specifically.
Because what I wouldn't want to have happen is, with the cost of living, is an admin suffering and feel they can't keep up their hobby and what makes them happy because they feel they can't contribute as much as the other admins because they can't afford it. And that's what I would hate to happen. And at that stage, I would like sort of someone to go, Ross, can you sort of give a tenner to help us post these out? Or
Ross, I love the fact that you care about it, but in all seriousness, several of us as admins have been too skint to do basically anything at various points, and it's never an issue. Other people pay. And we're all comfortable with whether it's we're short in time and can't contribute time, whether it's we're short on money, can't contribute that, whether we're short on patience and tolerance and can't contribute that. All of that's okay, and all of us have lacks in those in some of those areas at various.
The benefits of having 9 admins is that we really do always have someone with the relevant resources available. We've never had a moment where there's just no one at all. There's always one of us. Sometimes there is just one of us who can do a certain thing at a certain time. We've all, I think, had moments where there's been something unfolding and we've gone, guys, hello, someone get in the chat, please. But I mean, definitely. That's why we have things like the mute functions on posts where we can just temporarily like slow down comments and things if there is a problem. And when it comes to funding and things of that nature, I've been particularly poor for most of my time as an admin. It's been a year and a half and I've only had an income where I could do anything to support people for the last 3 months. I've never ever felt like there was pressure for me to provide financially. I've always just talked through and been really earnest with the rest of the group, and everyone's just been like, yeah, no, that's fine, you give time.
Everyone has different priorities as well.
Okay.
Family comes first, right? So for me, maybe I may be financially comfortable, but I can't spend it on my things at the moment. So it's even though being financially comfortable doesn't necessarily mean that I can always spend it on the hobby.
Rob gives an awful lot to the group. He does an awful lot. I mentioned the design element of it, but all the sample cards and everything for the shows, everything that he did last year for the alphabet game, all of those things, that's all on Rob. So
yeah, it's big stuff.
It is, but I'm, it's enjoyable to see people enjoying the group. So that's why we do it, isn't it, ultimately? I think that's why everybody on the admin team is passionate about it, because we want it to be what it really is. So it's good to be in a position to be able to shape that a little bit.
And we've learned a lot this year. Last year we got an awful lot of the prizes shipped to us early, and then we had to pay to get them shipped out. Whereas this year we've said, no, keep your prizes, we'll let you know. And ship them direct, because they're paying shipping to us. So they might as well pay to shipping to the right person.
Pay to ship it to the right person.
Yeah. So we've learned as well. Sorry?
I never got mine.
Oh, did you not? What did you win last year?
A bottle of ink.
Did it not arrive?
Remember what ink it was?
It will have been the burgundy chocolate notes.
Burgundy chocolate notes. I've got some samples of. I can send at least.
You're now going to get loads of samples, Melanie.
Now I'm going to get 7 of them.
Yeah. 7 samples. 8.
The next question, I think, going chronologically, was from Roz. What data is available about posters, commenters, likes, etc. from Facebook? Any surprises? So we actually, I believe, have a lot of this information saved for something that's happening later in Inkmas.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes, we can gather data from this about posters and things like that. No, we will not tell you any of that at this time.
I do feel like the Facebook data we have access to is frustratingly superficial. And I don't know if there are programs or other websites we can get to drill into it, but I always feel like I look through the admin stuff and look at the stats and kind of go, it's not very satisfying to look at. Not because they're not good numbers, but because I can't really get into them and interpret them properly.
There's a couple of stat scraping websites that we can use that can generate some more interesting statistics for us. But I still want to go and do a full read through of their data policy before I gave them the reins of our Facebook group to do that. So I think it's better if we go by to a certain degree what we can gather with Facebook data gathering. It's weird because Facebook takes so much information about individuals, but then it provides so very little of it back to the actual people running the groups.
That's because it wants you to pay for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah.
And that's the truth.
The Reddit link has been posted in the comments.
Rob's books are fantastic.
Yes.
They are, yes. They are. Let's just dwell on that for a second.
Yeah, Rob is brilliant.
So,
I love Rob.
I had 9 Rob-based notebooks on my desk. In various levels of use, and I think there are actually more than that. But there is a little set of all in current use Rob notebooks scattered liberally around my desk.
I've currently got nine around my desk and 3 in my work bag. So yeah, Rob's like basically giving all the admins loads of merch.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say that you want anything in the admin group, because otherwise Rob sends it to you.
If you mention that you're looking for something, it turns up the next week in a little bag. I found the other day a parcel that you'd sent me with the play sheet of the hex grid that had been put on my bed at some point, and I, on a sleepy night, had just swept off my bed and it had fallen down underneath, and I found it like 3 days ago. So thank you, Rob. I did indeed receive that parcel. It didn't go missing. It was under my bed.
Oh, that's good.
Your bed.
That's good.
So I have 6 Rob notebooks within reach of my desk, and then another in my work bag because it's my daily work journal. That's the 22 one. And I also have, I'm just going to show off my handwriting here. This is my tiny writing in my D&D hex grid journal for my murder mystery campaign that we're doing at the moment. We've got an incredible and insane amount of stuff going on in that campaign, and it's all being done on made for ink paper in one of the
all being done in there. Excellent. That's really cool.
So other projects that we could run, I guess. So question wise, we've got.
Before we digress too much, Jim, one moment.
Go.
I want to share.
Oh, look at this.
So non-notebook related, Rob, but you know how we've been talking about doing cardstock for my cards? I got out Pit Boss cards, and look, I did the Christmas bubbles on it with my mum, and look, there's no ghosting or bleed through. So I have tested the paper, so you don't need to send me testers. But
I don't. Right, so we just need to crack on with it then.
We need to crack on with it. Look at that.
Yeah, and also as a plug for the group, Pit Boss is the best swatching card, bar none. It's what I use for. It's the only swatching card I use. I'm about to finish my 3rd deck of them. I'm surprised I don't have more. It's better.
how
It's
far-
better. It's better than Bockingford. It's better than anything else I've ever used. It's amazing.
Are we
Speaking
gonna
of,
have-
Rob,
Sorry,
let
yeah.
me
Go on,
pay
Rob.
you for another set, please.
Okay, yeah, you can. I'm not stopping it.
Let me pay
Also,
you.
I'll also be probably in the new year now because we're busy up until Christmas. Be releasing it in a colouring size. So it will, if colouring is what you currently use, Steph, you'll be able to easily swap over.
Every time I post a swatch, Rob goes, "And whose is that? And whose is that?"
I feel so guilty.
But
I feel like a traitor.
Won't show you mine
I
then.
know, but look, these are all my swatch cards. I'm invested in this size. I'm really,
size is
really
the size.
invested in this size.
Oh my god.
Not Pit Boss,
They're
sorry.
not all my inks.
Yeah, so I'll be doing it in colouring size and also on a giant 90mm black ring. So you'll be able to archive like several sets together, and it will be really cool.
That brings me
yeah.
joy.
I'm very
That'll be
excited.
New Year.
Joy.
So what I love about the
90
Pit Boss.
millimeter. That's that.
Yeah, it's a beast. Black as well. It's gonna look sick.
It's gonna look really good.
So what I love about Pit Boss is you can get these like playing card, like baseball card albums that the Pit Boss, just because they're playing card size, they just fit in. They're really good. Yeah,
It
so I
is
just
why-
I keep my swatches in these.
It
Can
is
I got-
why
amazing.
they are playing card size.
It's why
Jim.
they're
That
playing
is-
card size, so that you can put them in a baseball card collecting set, right?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
got
Because
bought
I
one
didn't
of
want to.
those for my Magic the Gathering cards, and I never used it.
Yeah, I didn't want to have to
Yeah,
invest
no,
in making a card holder.
I've got quite a few, as you can tell.
Same. I've switched, Rob. I haven't sent photos. I really need to take photos. I kind of like the light goes away from me, but I've switched to the trading card size. So I don't really want the
Yeah.
coloring size.
Also,
Well,
Colin,
no.
what's the copper and teal ink there? That's really beautiful.
So these are all diamine shimmer inks that we use in our cards. So we've tried to
That's
be
amazing.
like something that's easily accessible, right? I don't want to use an ink that I can't buy again or will be too expensive to buy. So Mum and I have been really quite conscious about using local suppliers. In a funny kind of way, it just happened. So I really want to use Rob's cards because we want to have another reliable resource as well, because what we've been using are like mixed media journals, so Faber-Castell stuff, and cutting them ourselves. So if Rob can do that for us, and our card thing has been really amazing, and just because of the FPUK group, by the way. But side track, and then we use a shimmer powder on top of it, so it's like their
that's nice.
shimmer inks to begin with,
With
some
added
powder.
shimmer.
With added shimmer.
Because you can never have too much shimmer.
Oh, never, absolutely
Yeah.
never. Don't get me wrong, I like the exclusive inks from all over the world, but those are for like painting uses a lot of ink, so I don't want
Yeah.
to use anything that not available again. So diamine's my choice as well.
So what else? I'm going to if people are comfortable with this format, I'm just going to carry on scrolling through the chat. But if anyone wants to ask a question, then you can just unmute and shout out, basically. But,
Yeah, go
So
for it.
the other thing I want to say is that I've been taking notes in the background. So if we've forgotten any questions, don't worry. We'll try and kind of do maybe a second session or something, like maybe just answer them in a post or something like that. I think that would be a good idea because there are really good suggestions here.
I hope you don't mind me asking, but is there going to be another Phantom Pens UK pen for 2023?
We'll have to wait and see.
I think Jim's still trying to recover from 2022.
Oh God, I
was
overly invested in that project. It hurt. It definitely hurt me. Every time I see one that's slightly broken, I can't separate the fact that the manufacturing process, which was out of all of our hands, is not somehow my fault. Whenever I see a picture of one with bust threads, it just makes me just die a little bit more inside. So if you can all just never post broken pens again.
If it makes
So,
you feel
I
any
think-
better at all, my one is perfect and has had zero problems. I think
Yeah.
I've literally I put shimmer inks in it and it's just fine.
Same, mine's fine too.
Yeah, ditto. I mean,
Mine's
mine's right
fine.
here. It's eyedroppered with Ferris Wheel Press, Magnificent Midtown or Magnificent Midway, whatever it's called, and yeah, it's been fine too. So it's gutting because I genuinely didn't select out better pens for anyone. I just grabbed a box and went, this one will be mine and that one will be someone else's or whatever. Oh, sorry, my series just jumped on. Yeah, but yeah, that was weirdly.
I think if we
the 2-2 was actually one of my lower points of the year because it was incredibly hard work getting the pens out.
Massively stressful process.
As Ed will back me up, and there was a certain point where I just went, I'm out. Like I've done 190 something of them, and there's been a bunch of returns, and I've now finally run out of patience. I just can't do it.
Just out of curiosity, on the back of that, obviously, the administration of sending out pens and so on and so forth is a nightmare. But what if you got a collaboration with a shop, like I'm not saying a Noto, but someone who's established who can actually look after the delivery and the customer service?
I was actually going to say, that if we were to do it in the future, it possibly would be done slightly differently to the way that we did it originally. And that comes back to what Steph said about learning from our mistakes, that as we go through doing things, we realize what the stress points are, what the pinch points are, what we're going to struggle with. So like, instead of having the prizes all shipped to us so that we know we're going to get them sent out on time, let's not do that. Let's just have them sent direct in the future. Things like that. If we were to do another pen, we would have to incorporate some of the learning, because I don't think any of us could go through what we went through in early summer last year on anything like a regular basis.
It was deeply stressful when things went wrong. It was entirely out of our hands. It was entirely FedEx being weird with their policy.
Massive.
And Brexit, I think, is the thing, because it was Irish border stuff that was affecting it, and that's something that no one had any control over. So we're sitting there going, screaming into the void.
I think future collaborations are likely to be with bigger companies, or at least with people who can manage the logistics differently. Because there's Brexit stuff, and I mean, on a very personal level, I was dealing with all of that while I was also the main carer for my dad, including nursing care for him while he was going through chemotherapy to try and prolong his life. So I was dealing with all these pens and all this FedExing and all these problems, and at the same time I was also wiping my dad's ass 4 times a day. It was not a fun couple of months, and we couldn't legislate for that. And by the time all the pens had arrived with me, it was sort of like, oh well, I've got to crack on with it. So it was tough, wasn't it? It was really tough.
It was, you took on
big
a lot.
learning.
The other thing is, I think we probably were a little bit ambitious. We did, I believe, we did this amazing package at a ridiculously good price point, and we got an awful lot of support again from the suppliers and Gravitas, obviously, Ben Walsh. But equally, trying to give that for that price point was part of the challenge, I think, to be perfectly honest. And we absolutely can look at working with and having collaborations. And as I said earlier, we're now getting to the point where people are coming to us and saying, can we? Because they know that we like to buy things, but I don't think we'll be able to achieve something like that at that price point, to be honest.
I mean, I think looking, knowing what we in the admin group know at the moment, we could have probably got, if we wanted to do it, pens for at least the next 3 years that we could organise. But the question will be about what price point and what design and how much into bed we want to get with people. Basically, we've definitely got, I would suggest, enough people with, and these are significant pen producers interested in working on collaborations that we could probably cover off the next 3 years at some price point with some kind of a pen.
I'd be very interested in
cool.
looking at companies like Majon or something. I'm not saying that right, but formerly Moonman, and other companies who produce those very, very high, like low cost, high performance pens, to see if we could do a very, very affordable group model, 20-30 quid. And equally, I think places like Noto and like Black Robin Pens, who were on last night or something of that nature, really dense pens, high custom, like really high value pens and things like that. Those are also things that it would be really, really interesting to look into. It's just going to depend on what we're able to do, especially with the lessons we've learned from this year's pen.
For sure.
Just throwing like an idea into the mix here, but actually, would there be any sort of room for speaking to like a pen blank manufacturer, where you could offer the customer the ability to order a pen blank or two, and then send to your favorite pen manufacturer. And then it'd be really interesting to see where like those pen blanks end up and what sort of comes out of that.
So speaking personally, my reaction to that is probably not. And the reason for that is, I think, again, it's about what's easy and what's time consuming. And I think that could potentially become quite time consuming. And there are processes and complexities that we don't understand. And so I'd much rather, for example, go to a big pen producer, go to Leonardo, right? And be like, look, we'd like to have a custom blank and a custom pen. Can you help? And then let them come to say, sure, do you want us to approach Carolina Pens or Jonathan Brooks or Gilbert House Pens or whoever, and get them to do you some custom blanks? I'd almost rather do it that way, so they take the load on it and they manage the process and the quality control and all that stuff. Because if we go, we want 500 FPUK specific blanks, we've then got to do all the QC, and we've got to do the dispatch. And see what I mean? It's about what can we do that kind of isn't going to eat too much into our time, because we all have lives. This is something, don't forget, this is not a job, it's a passion. But I already work 60+ hours most weeks for the NHS. Steph's incredibly busy in her job. Hayes as well. Everyone is really busy in their own lives, and so we need to think about what we can do that doesn't essentially break us.
What's achievable? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We want it to be great, but it has to be achievable.
To interject quickly, oh sorry.
I was wondering if you could ask, when it does get to that stage, whether you ask for volunteer from the group to sort of just give a hand on.
It's something we've considered. We've done it before. Fiona, before she was an admin, helped out with the school pens.
Yeah.
And that's the prime example of someone from the group offering and helping support us and volunteering to help. It's definitely something that's a consideration. To interject and cut across the conversation here quickly, it is now 9 p.m. and that is when we announce our prize winners for the night. So drum roll, please, everybody.
Yes.
We've got a random number generator of the 31 people who are here today. And today's winner is George Parapadakis. You have won a £100 Diamine gift card.
Oh, thank you very much.
George, if you want to drop me your email.
Yeah, certainly.
You can donate it to Steph.
I'll Diamine will contact. I'll let them have your information, and then basically you just contact Diamine and give them your order of the £100 worth of ink that you want.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Brilliant.
Congratulations.
I think now is probably the point where ordinarily certainly yesterday we sort of stopped the recording at around this point, but we can keep it on if we're going to continue answering questions. There's a whole load here now.
What I might suggest is, should we run this with recording for maybe another till 9:30, so another 25 minutes or so? We'll just carry on going through questions in the order that they're in the chat, essentially. And then we will hold on to the chat file after. We'll either post or we'll arrange another sesh. I'll say hip and down with the kids, right?
So not
so street, Jim.
So street.
Oh, bless you.
I know. I try.
It's fine. I speak kid.
So I think maybe we'll record for, if people are happy with that, another 20 minutes, and then we can carry on the same format, or we can just chat or whatever works, whatever people want to do. I mean, basically, I've had a really intense fortnight. I'm finally off the hook for a couple of days, so I'm intending on staying up late and getting drunk, so I'll be here for a while.
Might run off and get a whiskey.
That's going to be a treat.
Hayes, have we got another question?
Yes. Right. So we had some suggestions about payment models and things of that nature. The next question in the chat chronologically was Melanie's suggestion of the secret birthday fairy, and if there was a way of doing that. I think we discussed that in the admin group, and we thought that considering the way that birthdays arrive, because they're not all at one time, it's actually very, very difficult to run like an Elfster or something similar, because there's no one date that everything has to be done by. It would be staggered, and it would be so much additional work for the admin team. Unless there's a website that does that, it's just not feasible.
Yeah, it definitely fell into the too difficult category, didn't it? Like a really good idea, but potentially really quite difficult to keep a handle on, because the thing in the Ulster, the thing that will take me time is not the setting it up. It'll be in 3 or 4 weeks' time when I have to then chase down people who either haven't received this gift or haven't sent them, or where there's been food bars with Royal Mail and stuff's gone missing, and somehow it all landed in my lap to deal with, even though it's kind of not my fault.
All it takes is one person forgetting or getting sick or deciding not to, having signed up, to let the whole site down. And with Elfster, that can be solved fairly easily, but with a birthday thing, because of the continual nature of it, it's just, I can see that piling up so fast.
It's a shame because it's a really good idea, but I think
It is.
it's definitely in the realm of too difficult.
If there's a website that does it and someone knows about it, please let us know, because we'd be happy to do
Yeah.
that if a website would organise it for us.
Yeah, I mean, I was for that very reason. I thought that if you do it quarterly, for example, then you have, okay, everybody who's in January, February, March participates for those 3 months, and then you move on to the next quarter. So also, if people join at the end of the year, it's not like they're going to miss out or something like that. But yeah, no, I mean, I'll take your word for it. Obviously,
I'll swap presents with you, Melanie.
I'll swap presents with you too, Roz.
Organising it informally. Organising it informally, you know, I think the key to me is I don't mind if someone wants to organise it informally, but I would, you know, for me personally, I don't have time to admin that kind of thing, and I'd kind of want to be arm's length from it. So if something went wrong, people didn't kind of just come to me or any of the admins.
Absolutely.
I think as an admin, we can revisit that if you want to. We can come back to you, Melanie, and maybe say, look, okay, how about you run that? But
we
to
were
be clear, it's
literally
kind
just
of, but it's kind of arm's length from us. Does that make sense? So if you wanted to use the group for that, I don't see any reason necessarily not to. But we need to be quite clear
Edmund,
about
what are
where
you
the boundaries
wearing?
are.
Yeah,
Oh God.
Good evening, all.
He's either lost the plot or he's drunk.
We were literally talking about the Secret Santa earlier as well, and because of the post, we well,
oh God,
Jim actually is running it this year. He's going to end, simply because of the post, will end up with lots of DMs and things about the gifts not arriving, and it then becomes a job. It's another thing that you need to deal with.
Literally, I'm just poking out the top there, parts of my Secret Santa gift here ready to go in the post tomorrow, and I'm sitting there going, it's going to get there in March.
I did mine back in November, so I'm all right. Well, ages ago.
Oh, very smart.
You did really well, yeah. I'm just hoping. I mean, I got mine out a couple of weeks back, so I'm hoping they've all been received. I know that one of them has. I'm not sure if the other one has.
We've got another question from Melanie, and that was about there being a donation box for cheaper pens and things that seem silly to put on the BST. This is something I've thought about too, because when you're buying bulk pens as a pen seller, you often end up with a lot of like pens that there's no real sense in selling. I'm not sure if we could do that. Is that something that the other admins would be like? Where could we run a donation box?
I think that's a really good idea.
Need to
Could
get
we make it?
Actually,
could we make it like a pen bank? You know, like almost like a food bank, but for pens. Would that be a thing?
Yeah, I mean, if they can all be sent to me, for example, or something, and then when we've got a certain number, or then we can decide what to do with them or something like that.
Didn't Ian Allen send Fiona some for school?
Yes, I have a small box of inks and pens from him, waiting for.
What I did this year is I donated them I sold them and then gave it all to.
Yeah, you did.
I gave that because they weren't worth anything. They were really just pen pens, and people were kind enough to then see that's a donation.
That was really good. That was brilliant.
I've got a load more.
Well, feel free to run another one, Roz. We're perfectly happy to sanction, selling and then using that to fund things of that nature. It was really, really lovely of you to run that.
But the next lot does come with devil sticks because they're sort of sets.
Sets are fine. Sets are fine. They've got the fountain.
Sets are fine. Yeah, we've said sets are fine.
The decoration to go alongside.
I've got a box full.
Like a bauble.
Yeah, like a fountain pen with attached bauble that happens to write.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah,
then
like little enabling packages.
That would be really cool. So
I'm sending one to a friend in America soon.
Yeah, because just getting rid of them this year, I mean, that raised, I think it was 200 quid.
Yeah.
So that's one thing you can do, Melanie, is do what I did.
I've certainly got a couple of 3 pens I
Inks.
couldn't.
We could also have a.
I can't part with ink. I'm happy to give away samples, but not bottles.
You know, that's actually a really
we
good
could,
idea. I have a bunch of pens that I don't use because they're just not. I don't like the nibs on them, basically. I have a bunch of leftover bottles where people have bought me Diamine inks because they know I like fountain pens and they've bought colours I already have. I'm going to pair them up, I think, and pop them on the BST.
Well, the other thing we could do, rather than the BST, is if we're going to be doing a table at the pen show in March, potentially, could we do a pen amnesty and a pen swap or sort of thing there?
Pen amnesty.
Love it.
Too many pens.
Oh, surrender your pen here.
You can even admit your honor Mont Blanc to that kind of amnesty.
I mean, more than happy to accept, Visconti Homo sapiens,
we're magnanimous.
all the really boring rubbish that those,
looking around.
Like those rubbish.
That's what I was thinking
Japanese,
about the,
Nakayas or something. Surrender those. That's fine.
I was thinking that about the pen bank. You buy an Onoto, you put one in the bank as well.
Yeah, for sure.
The next question in the chat is about Helen says, hearing about the big moments of 2022, many passed me by. Not sure how, so it would be worth double checking that everything important is posted to everyone. I'm part of a few other groups and they use the @everyone command, which makes sure everyone is alerted to a particular post. I'm not sure how I feel about that because I find that in groups that use the @everyone function, all it serves is as a reminder that I need to leave that group.
I've done that. I've left 3 groups in the last month because they @everyone me.
That's when I meet them.
Yeah,
I'd never heard about everyone. So I have to say, I was there going, "This is genius." I didn't know this was a thing. So
literally in the last month, I've left 3 groups because they @everybody me.
That said,
surely if you do it for just like these sessions, or for the very first post about the 2023 pen. Not every single post about the 2023 pen, but just so that it just makes it a little bit more.
Could we have everyone for anything? Can we do that for announcements? Because one of the things that annoys me about announcements on Facebook is that the announcements don't seem to broadcast to people. Weirdly, they used to be almost like a broadcast if you announce, and now they don't do that anymore. Which is kind of frustrating.
It's difficult. I mean, as an admin, I don't see half the posts in the group.
I
and
save
that's as
the
an
post.
admin, so I get it. It's.
I think we'll put it in the consideration thing for the chat, because all the suggestions that people have made that are things that we're going to consider, I'm actually writing down. So we're going to have them to talk about after Inkmas is over, probably in the new year, as a team. So I think that actually is a very good idea for just rare posts like the launch of the 23. I don't think that anybody's going to be upset about being bleeped to get their early access to the 23.
I think.
Well, also, I'm like a retired parent, so I'm gonna be like, @everyone for everything now. So
please don't. Oh my god.
I just take the power away from Jim.
We de-admin Jim as a result of this conversation.
Also for things like, the socials and Inkmas, these kind of Zoom meetings, because it's amazing how many people can't find links and stuff. But Jim, no overdoing it.
Noted.
Can the admins just not give the details to Jim? I think that's probably the best thing.
I think if we just don't give him instructions on how to do it, he won't be able to work it out himself. So we'll be safe.
How am I so shit at social media? Like, I'm not that much older than any of the other admins, and yet I am literally like the old man of the group, aren't I?
Jim, I think we're actually the same age. So
Oh my Christ! Yeah, do you see what I mean? Like,
you're
way cooler.
Baby brain. And you'll get baby brain soon as well.
Yeah. I thought that's Julia's privilege.
No, you'll get your dad.
Men want a bit of
everything.
No.
I thought I just get grumpy. I thought I just get tired and grumpy. I thought I just get tired and grumpy.
How will she tell the difference?
You will get tired and grumpy. Yeah.
I'm going to say tired and grumpy Jim. Never.
Never. None of you have ever seen me get tired and grumpy, right?
No.
Your postman is still suffering.
Oh, bless my poor postman. I mean, to be fair to him, he has actually delivered some parcels this week that should have been signed for, that he just left on the doorstep. So I'm wondering if he's finally given up.
No, he's scared of you.
Well, I bloody hope so.
It's like a house that has a bulldog, but this one has a gym.
Have a gym. Yeah.
Unfortunately,
my nickname at work is Hulk, because they're like, if it can't be done, just give it to Jim because he'll smash his way through it. It's like, yep.
Gina has made a brilliant suggestion. We could use the events tab. You know, revolutionary. Use the actual feature on Facebook for it.
No, we don't want to
Being called out for a rubbish event organisation.
Thank you for that, Gina. We will.
But I literally run our social medias for businesses, and neither of us thought of doing that. So thank you.
If you use the events tab, does that then notify people properly?
Yes.
Well, what we could do is we could put it on the events tab and then at everyone to say we've put it on the events tab, go and check it out.
And then at everyone,
like
5 minutes
everything.
before the thing, and then at everyone half an hour in to say they're late. Yeah, it's great. This won't annoy people. Because at everyone's come through with the same tone as messages. So
you're fine. You're fine.
Not only that, but people would know when to go and find the reference rather than hunting back through the posts.
Yeah,
I think
this might be the solution here.
Because it took me literally 15 minutes to actually find the post yesterday. So I thought, you know what, I found it. I'm just going to share it now.
And you know, Helen, it's a really great point, and thank you, because that's actually it's prompted some helpful actions for us. It's a really useful thing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I'll get somebody, Hazel, Isha, to show me how to do it, and I'll set up all the rest of the.
I don't know. I can do that. I do know how to do that.
Okay, it'd just be handy to know how to do it as well.
Yep,
Isha, I'm disappointed. You should have started that out and gone, yeah, no worries, Steph.
I'm just a bit dim, honestly.
You have a master's.
That doesn't mean anything.
That's true. My girlfriend has a PhD, and well, she very nearly has a PhD. She is quitting because the supervisors are terrible. But she's done 3 years of PhD study, and she still lacks anything resembling common sense. I love her dearly.
Common sense, intelligence, very different.
Well, she must be very highly intelligent then.
High int, low whiz is the joke we all make. For any of the tabletop gamers in the chat, they're all laughing right now. We've got another question from Roz. Do you know how many non-UK inhabitants are in the group? No clue. We don't get stats like that. They don't tell us useful, informative things like where are our groups actually based, so that we can start to target things at the people in our group. We know the majority are UK based currently because it's a UK group and Facebook targets it at the location that you put in when you make the group. But that's it. That's all we know. So we don't have
percentages. You could get that info though before, couldn't you?
Pardon?
I thought you could get that information before.
I thought we can see which countries, but not how many people.
Yeah.
You can see which countries, just not how many people.
I just wonder, it might be, it's just interesting because I noticed we're getting quite a few who are obviously from like Holland and America, places like that. It was just of interest to see how widespread. Of course, we've got Jack down in New Zealand, but I just wondered if there was another particular country that was, had a lot of members. Maybe we could do a poll or something, but then I suppose some might want to say, but that was just of interest, really. It's great.
The next question. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say I've introduced FPUK to a few American friends, and they love it.
Yeah.
So.
I get comments on the Britishisms within the group, because someone will reference getting a Christmas bonus or a pay rise, because we call them pay rises here. They don't call them that there. It's a pay raise. And I got a whole conversation with a friend about how our way of talking about it is weird. And I'm sitting there going, you're in a UK group now.
No, we're right. They're wrong because it's English.
Absolutely.
I mean, the other thing is, I was just looking, actually, we're not a million miles away from 4,000 members. Yeah. So that'd be nice. But we are not strict's the wrong word, but we we are careful on who we let into the group. So we shouldn't have robots, we shouldn't have spammers, we shouldn't have, unless they're very clever, but we do. And actually, when you look at the amount we approve and decline, that's interesting.
I think this is why we have such a high activity rate within the group, because a lot of,
I think you're right.
If you look on Facebook, you can look at groups and you can look at the number of members and the number of active posters per week in any group. There is a larger fountain pens group than us, just called Fountain Pens, but its activity is significantly lower per week than us. And I think a large amount of that is because that group lets anyone in. There is one question that you have to answer, and you can skip past it. They approve anyone who applies. So they might have 14,000 members, but they have very few active.
I don't think it's just that. I think it's the fact that this group is the only group that acts as a community. So it's an active membership group. It's not just a place for posting, I have a beautiful pen, or I want a beautiful pen, or I'm selling my beautiful pen, right? We actually have dialogues. We have got tracked conversations. We have got interaction. We've got camaraderie. We got passion, for each other, etc. So it's a very different kind of Facebook group than just the standard fountain. I must be probably about 30 or 40 different Facebook fountain pen groups that I'm a member of. None of them has this kind of feel to it.
Which one has events like that? Which one has an admin community that is so interactive? I'm talking ourselves up here. I do nothing, but the point is that it's important to have that sense of community and keep that sense of community as well.
Yeah, there are a couple of other small Facebook groups that do have that kind of community spirit to them, but we are the largest UK based group, and I really like how we all very much come together as a family. You join the group, if you're a new member and you make a post, you're going to have 20 people in your comments going, welcome to the group, let's do this, let's do that, have some ink, hey, what's your address, I'm sending you a parcel. My first introduction to the group was me making a couple of posts about pens, and I got sent my Platinum 3776. This is an Ashino Waters. I got sent this by Edwin, who I'd been in the group for 3 weeks. And he just went, you're a newbie, you're posting a lot, you seem like you're a nice person, have a present. That's the kind of space we have. It's incredible. We have the hashtag boring pens, where one of the other group members got sent to Mont Blanc because they kept calling Mont Blancs boring. I think that was also Edwin.
That's Ed, yeah, that's Ed.
What we're learning is that Edwin's a troublemaker.
Edwin is a generous, incredibly amazing human being, and he's a credit to the admin team.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think that culture piece is really important to come to, because I think I think FPUK has always been like that. We're in many ways quite a fresh group of admins. Rob's the only original admin from the group I think left, and even Rob wasn't here on day one, I don't think. I think one of the things I think that we've tried really hard over the last 2 or 3 years that we've kind of all worked together is to make sure that we start to refer to this rather than the Facebook page, and to talk about the community. And I think that's been certainly for me, that was a conscious decision when I became an admin, was I was never going to talk about the page. I was going to talk about the community, the group, because it's always felt like that. It's always felt, and actually the admins are kind of like extended family. Like I wrote a post months and months ago to you guys, didn't I, saying like, this is how I see you guys as family. And I was like, Rob's like my cool older brother, and like Apurva's like my mom, and we kind of like lovely. Do you remember it? Yeah.
That's supposed to be a compliment.
I'm the strange child.
It's a strange, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I think the culture piece is really important. I think for me, that of all the things that we do, it needs to feel like a safe environment. For me to want to be on Facebook for any length of time at all, I'm either looking for very focused information about something specific, or I want to feel safe. I don't massively love social media. Like I'm not particularly, I have accounts on Instagram and on TikTok and whatever, but I don't go onto them religiously. Whereas FPUK, I'm on like 2 or 3 times a day, just doom scrolling, just to make sure everything's good and to kind of get a little fix or whatever.
Jim,
I think if anyone was actually watching this on YouTube, I would imagine they would have been thoroughly bored and given up by now.
Yeah.
So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for tuning in. Like, you have amazing patience and tolerance, and don't forget to buy Diamine ink. And I'm going to end the recording on that note. Is that okay? We'll carry on the chat and we'll do more questions, but I'll stop recording.